Hey, what's going on, guys? Just want to quickly tell you guys that I'm very close to approaching 2.5k, and a few months back I said I'd be doing a giveaway where I'd just be throwing SSs left and right to those who enter. So obviously you don't need a single message requirement to enter, so feel free to join the Discord below. And without further ado, let's start with the Arankar variants. I think we should start with Proficiency. Now for Proficiency, it's essentially a glass cannon. So a good build can get you some insane damage output, especially if you run something nasty like Kendo Keto with overpowering. However, of course, as I said, it's a glass cannon, since the variant does not come with hero, meaning your defense will entirely depend on your equipment, and you'll also be forced to use brace to stay alive. Personally, I feel the proficiency enhancements aren't enough to make up for the loss of sustainability, especially if you go up against some good players who are either parry gods or if they pressure you hard enough. So I'll have to throw proficiency at a B tier. I think it's a pretty fair spot, all things considered. Next up, we have hero variant. This one's pretty plain and simple, where you gain a 10% defense buff as long as you have hero, as well as a 5% damage buff to all your moves. Hero is essentially infinite as long as you land any move or attack of any kind. This also comes with the Hyper Armor Sero, so it can be a decent method to get out of combos, or if you want an uninterruptible Sero. I feel this variant somewhat lost popularity after the dodge buffs and then Sero variant came out, but I still think the variant in long-term fights is insanely valuable, as not only does it offer an infinite 25% defense from the variant, but it also offers a 5% damage buff. So honestly, I'd put this up at meta tier. Really good. Next up, we have dodge variant. This one is quite simple, but extremely powerful in 1v1s, where every 30 seconds or whenever you land a Sero, you gain a dodge. While people might say, well wait, hero variant is way better at sustaining damage with his defense. The dodge is actually way more valuable than you think, since the dodge can essentially be used as a sort of cover to avoid getting hit during an attack. So you can easily do something like a Sonata Flow, and if they hit your dodge, your Sonata Flow will still go unpunished, and it would have prevented what may have been a potential combo. You can even shoot a Sero with your dodge on, where you can be hit, use your dodge, and then land the Oscarus to get your dodge back. Overall, the variant preventing combos and allowing your moves to go uninterrupted when active, I'd say the dodge variant is better at both sustaining and guaranteeing damage than hero variant, so it'll also go in the meta tier in front of hero. Lastly, for Arankars, we got Sero variant. If we look in the tray though, we can specifically see that the variant grants you an effective 20 scaling to Keto and Medic, then 15 to either Hakata or Kendo depending on your skill tree point investment, and another 15 scaling to Speed for all your Seros, and will even increase your highest investment by another 10 points. Not only that, but you also gain access to 2 Sero Paths that are also affected by the scaling increase. So using one of the Sero Paths will also put the other on a 5-second cooldown, which I still feel is very strong, especially when nearly every Sero Path is very powerful. So you can basically reach a point where a Finger Sero can be both really fast and deal 4% to your opponent. Finally, if you thought that was enough, they even have the ability where, depending on which skill tree has the highest points, will provide its own respective passive effect if you land an Oscarus. So if you land your Oscarus and your Kendo, it'll drain all your posture, which even has another feature in and of itself, where if it drains more than 80 posture, it'll apply anti-heal for a good while. Even a skill tree like Medic has a good passive where it can heal your party proportional to the damage it dealt. So overall, I feel this is by far the absolute strongest variant in terms of DPS, because having access to 3 different Seros that scale way higher is insane. Obviously, I had to put this variant at meta tier above all the other variants, because I think this variant needs a nerf already. Now that we're done with the Arankar variants, we can move forward with the Quincy variants, where we can start with the Boost variant. The Boost variant is very simple, as in the name, it just boosts all your stats for ray regen, damage output, speed, and defensive capabilities. This variant is as if you had 4 Visor variants instead of 3, so despite how simple it seems, it's still very, very effective. So I'd have to put this variant at meta tier, of course. This variant is definitely on par with some of the Aron Karchu variants. Next up we have Blut variant. This variant, in my opinion, is like a weaker version of the boost variant. However, if I'm correct, the variant gives you a total of 80 Blut right off the bat and makes the damage reduction on Blut Vein go from 15 to 20 in base. This is then increased to 25% in Lets, similar to Hero variant levels of defense. The variant also makes your Blut Artery give a 5% damage buff rather than a 3% damage buff. And then it gets increased again up to 10% when it lets. I think it's very fair to say that this variant can only really work at its full potential if you run True Blood, so you can maximize your damage early on. However, that said, I still believe the boost variant is definitely better than Blood, since it offers both Ray regen and a speed buff, while offering a damage and defense buff in lets anyway. I'd say the only two things the Blood variant has over the boost variant is that it boosts your stats even before you pop lets and gives you more blood in quantity, so it'll make it more difficult for your blood to run out. Honestly, I could put this at an A tier. Still a pretty good variant. It could go into an S tier, but honestly, that's up to whoever feels really strongly for this variant. Other than that, lastly, we have the Siphon variant. This variant serves to occasionally explode in a decent radius, stealing Ray, dealing very minor damage and restoring 10 blood. Obviously, if you run a Siphon variant, you have no need to run any Ray regen accessories, so you can solely focus on defensive capabilities. Other than that though, the variant isn't all that strong in terms of damage or defense, since the explosion deals very minor stun, and the damage is also very minor. So I'd honestly have to put this variant at a C tier. I don't personally think a variant that is mostly used to restore Ray is as valuable as something like Blut variant or Boost variant. Finally, reaching the Visor variants. This one might be a little weird to judge and place on a tier list since Visors have 3 at once. So I'll be doing 3 different combinations that include damage and defense in all of them, since you'd either have to be running a very specific build or you just ran out of variant rerolls. Anyway, starting with speed paired with damage and defense, I feel this variant is kind of useless since it only appears to buff your flash step and walk speed by an okay amount. I'd have to put this one in D tier, obviously because the speed variant is just plain awful compared to the ones I'm about to talk about next. Speaking of which, we have Ray regen paired with damage and defense. This variant isn't as strong as it used to be since it got nerfed a lot back then. It only appears to offer 6% Ray regen on the Trelo. I'm not totally sure if the Trelo is incorrect or outdated, but even then I feel you could run Duality Hiyori, which offers a good 10% Ray regen, so you can essentially just use the accessory to act as the Ray regen variant, and so it kind of loses a lot of its value because of that, so I'll have to put it at C tier. Finally, we have the health regen paired with damage and defense. Obviously, this variant heals you over time, around 1 flat HP point per tick. Honestly, I think this variant is pretty good, especially in long-term fights. Obviously, it's gonna allow you to heal passively, which can further increase your sustainability when paired with the defense. So I'm gonna have to put this one at an S tier. Let me know how you guys feel about the list. If you got any corrections if I'm wrong. Like I said before, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell. We're about to hit 2.5k as of making this video. Be sure to join the Discord for the many giveaways I'm about to host when I reach 2.5k. And I'll be doing these every 500 subs as a milestone. So with that said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.